lovely friend. I held you close, sweet too, till the bitter end. One pierce, one cut was one too much. For you, my love, I offer my blood.
Hello, Susan.
Good morning. How you doing?
Well, I thought I had set up Skype a half hour ago, and apparently I never clicked the button to start the call.
Yeah, I was trying to call you and I couldn't see any green phone button. But that could be user error.
Hello, Murphy.
Hi, Murphy.
Hello, Susan, Larry.
Hello.
Arte signed in to Moolah already, so the
Okay.
and he says he was signed up to Skype, but I don't. But I never. Like I said, I forgot to click the start call button, and so I never saw him in Skype. Scroll down. Oh, there he is. Hello, Arte. Arte joined the call, but I'm not hearing anything from him.
Take your words back home. Put back away nice and slow. Feel the ebb and flow. Please get sucked out to sea. I wonder where you are, 'cause you know I take these things kinda extra hard. This back and forth won't take me anywhere I need to be. flow. Please get sucked out to sea.
I'm always over the top, I can't get enough. Take me high above those clouds so I can jump. I never feel the fear, I only feel the rush. The fear's out. Jump out. Yell it out. Never too much. Do it, don't stop. Nah, 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 never too much. Never too much. Do it, don't stop. Nah, 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 never too much. Never too much. Never takes much to kill the pain. I got used to it, so it never stays. I'm here forever, I'll never fade. Nah. Settle in, take it in. I'm here to win. I'm here to win. I'm here to win. Take a wait in, let it sink in, let it settle deep inside. Never too much. Do it, don't stop. Nah, 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 never too much. Never too much. Do it, don't stop. Nah, 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 never too much. Never too much. So you wanna come to Hollywood? You wanna reach the sky. You got to touch the stars so high above. This kind of fame is come and gone overnight.
RJ's trying to get his Skype working.
Okay.
This ain't the kind of love you want, it's war, and it's tougher. But this is the kind of that smashes dreams. You'll suffer, but I can't leave this place I call an empty heart. And I can't start something that's not worth fighting for.
interesting. The name of the song that's playing in the background right now is Before You Lose Maine, and I haven't the faintest idea what that means.
I can barely hear you and you're cutting out.
Okay, how's that, Susan?
Oh, much, much better. Thank you.
Yeah, the microphone setting switched on me yet again.
I think you have gremlins in your house. Gremlins or poltergeists?
That or Skype is just a lousy program when it comes to programming.
Or that. That's a possibility.
But it switched my it switched from my main microphone over to the one that's on my headset, which is current, and the microphone for that is currently behind my head.
Oh no. On the opposite side of your mouth. That's not good. That's not very effective.
Yeah. Anyway, I was just saying that the last song that was playing in the background was called Before You Lose Maine by Daniel Fernandez, and I haven't the faintest idea of what Before You Lose Maine is supposed to mean.
Maine, M-A-I-N?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
You can see, I have it showing the song titles in the Twitch chat, so you can see.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll have to Google it.
And no, Frobaz. My head is definitely on the right way.
I Googled it, it doesn't come up.
I wouldn't expect it to.
Oh, well, it's a song, right?
Well, yeah.
But these are obscure songs?
Yeah, these are all DRM free, so that I can put record them as part of the tour video and not get sued over it.
Oh, cool.
That's why I never play anything that you recognize.
Mm-hmm.
This is all from a music service called Pretzel Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And that they kind of specialize in music that can be used in streams.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I see their spam.
Actually, I'm subscribed to them now, so I could remove that particular the fact that that they're showing up in the stream chat. But
I would think their spam would be required.
It is when you're on the free mode.
Oh.
But since I'm paying a subscription fee, I'm not required to have it. I left it on there just because I wanted people to be able to see what was playing.
Right. Well, if you take it off, you could claim that they're all your compositions.
Creek Writer just wrote that maybe the songwriter meant Maine, M-A-I-N-E.
Huh.
And I'd be a little surprised if somebody managed to lose an entire state.
Oh, well, it is our smallest state, right?
No, that would be Rhode Island.
Oh.
Maine is the really big
I
one
knew
up at the
that.
end. Up at
Oh,
the
it's in
end
the
of
top
the.
right corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, mea culpa, yeah. I knew that. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to get my chat to show up when I've got a half page. I think I'm gonna have to open it to more than half wide. There we go. Uh-oh, someone thinks my quest has Invisibug. I'm hovering over bodies. Is he KFK?
Hello, Carol.
Hello. Shara.
Yeah. I
Nope,
guess
we can't hear you, Arte.
you're showing up right there in my chat program as being present, but for whatever reason, your microphone just isn't working. You did check your microphone settings, right, to make sure that it was on the right thing?
Try moving the slider. Yes, that never gets old with me.
It certainly got old with Rand Miller when he was he recorded all that stuff, and then when he went and played the game, he said that he found himself sitting there saying, "Will you shut up, Atris?"
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Morning.
Sorry, my audio, for whatever reason, I put this and audio is directly linked to my mic, and I have to change it to hear, not change the mic.
So you had to switch which mic it was using, like Larry did.
Yeah. No, I didn't switch mics. So my mic has a earphone piece where I can listen to audio in the back. So when that happens, sometimes Skype will, because it's linked to that microphone, it will link to that microphone.
Yeah.
I always hear that. So I have to go into settings and set it.
That's
to
what
the
happened to Larry. It defaulted to the wrong mic.
It's been doing that lately. I've
Yeah.
noticed that.
For whatever reason, Skype seems to switch the microphone to whatever you plugged in the last. Good morning, Darlene.
Marwa! When you were gonna come in?
Oh, that's right. Darlene used to visit with Rawa every Friday, but he's moved to Maine, so I don't think she can be doing that anymore, can you?
Maine?
And not Maine, I mean, I got that stuck in my head.
Rhode Island.
No, he moved to he moved to Idaho.
Yeah. Okay, well, based on the photo that Larry has up on the stream, who can guess where we're going on today's tours?
Well, let me open that. Oh. Oh. Okay. I was just thinking of what I want.
Oh, great. The stream chat just got hit by its first spam post, I think.
Yep. Lukewarm vocalize. Is this a bot or is this a... Yeah,
I
this
have
is a
no
bot.
idea, but they
Spam bot.
Yeah.
Hey, when you get more popular, the more they come.
Yep. Larry, you're too popular.
I don't think anyone's ever accused me of that.
No, it does feel weird.
No
that
comment.
You and RK have switched places now. Because RK used to be the leader for the commentators and you were a commentator. Now you're the historian. RK is the commentator.
Well, Arte is struggling to get Skype working still. Hugs out to Arte. Everyone send Arte warm vibes. Warm Skype vibes. Come on, move your fingers. Sending out warm Skype vibes. Woo. Oh no. Shadow said the C word.
Chocolate?
Chocolate. Raspberry flavored dark chocolate covered with marshmallows. Interesting.
So, mine is actually vanilla ice cream, peanut butter, and marshmallow fluff together.
Oh my gosh. Sounds dangerous.
Don't knock until you try it. Look up.
I think I have eaten ice cream with peanut butter before, but not with marshmallow goo. The marshmallow that comes in a jar?
No, there's a few ice cream places near me. It was because a company called Enlighten had a marshmallow peanut butter, which tasted like a tiger butter fudge that I like. And then I got addicted to this, and now every time I go to an ice cream place, that's all I want. I don't want
Oh
anything
no.
else.
Uh-oh. So
I'm hooked on those and anything tasty, especially like something.
So you're gonna be missing all your teeth next month. You'll be talking like this. Hi, this is
No.
Jake. I've been drinking on vanilla peanut butter marshmallow for months now, and I lost all my teeth.
Okay, I've gone ahead and turned off the music.
So Arte's gonna be mic-less today. I wish you could get it working, Arte. We'd love to listen to your baritone voice. I can't even go that low. Hi, this is Arte. And I know everything there is to know about the Dunny civilization.
I do this. Watch. Is this low enough?
Not quite.
Actually, my voice tends to drop a register or two when I have a cold.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to do telephone technical support for an internet service company, and one time I was talking with a woman who had called in while I had a cold, and she just sat there silent listening to me for a while. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she said, "Your voice just drips testosterone."
Oh dear.
Anyway.
So Arte's new name is R apostrophe testosterone. All right, inappropriate.
I like Dreamers 3 egg veggie scramble. Yet for me, Dreamer 3, that would be an omelet.
Egg veggie scramble breakfast. Oh, breakfast burritos.
Yeah.
I eat breakfast burritos when I'm out and about. With Kai tea. Do you dip it in the Kai tea, or do you eat them separately?
Is it Kai or chai?
I believe it's chai.
Chai tea?
Yeah.
Oh.
Chai
Apparently,
is
I'm not
chai
classy
is
enough to know
not
that.
chai is actually the Hindu word for tea. So saying chai tea is basically saying tea.
Oh,
Yeah, I
interesting.
actually learned that in the Spider-Man movie, the second one.
So you know that old saying goes I think there was a book. Everything I learned in kindergarten. It's
Mhm.
different for Zeke. He learned everything from Spider-Man.
Actually, chai came about actually because of the British invading India. India wasn't a wasn't a country where tea was drunk at all, much at all, before the British came along. Then, of course, they invaded, brought their tea with them, and India took to it. But of course, they took to it their own way by adding in various spices like cinnamon, allspice, and other things like that, and along with milk and sugar. So the
Mhm.
chai is very definitely an Indian variant of tea.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Okay. And with that said, it is 1 minute after our start time.
Mm-hmm.
Zeke, do you want to do the honors?
I will. Hold on. All right. I want to welcome everyone to the cavern tour this month. Uh, so first, let's get this out of the way. If you go into your settings, the wrench tools, and go to your audio settings, turn down your sound effects and ambient sounds and music, so that you'll be able to hear. So that the music won't interfere with between Larry and us. Also, Larry is streaming on Twitch TV, so make sure the game is uh, in window mode.
I'm laughing because if they weren't already tuned into Twitch, they wouldn't be hearing you ask them to tune into Twitch.
Well, if they're hearing me, maybe they can tell people in the cavern then. um, and then so we will be moving to a different age. So be sure to friend a microbot, a mirrobot. Is it mirrobot?
Yeah.
I always called it microbot. Mirrobot. Because we'll be using him to go to the age we explore. Try not to climb on any ladders or any of that type of stuff because it can cause the game to lag and just a lot. Just don't. And if you fall or the game crashes, you can link to Mirrobot and then PM him. Find Larry, and he will bring you back to the group. Please stay within the group, and during times there will be questions you can ask. You can either ask it here on Twitch or you can ask it in the cavern. During those times, try to keep your questions related to the particular age we go to, because maybe some questions may be answered in a future tour. Am I missing anything?
Well, it should be enough for now. And
All right, can you guys hear me now?
yes,
Yes,
Arte!
RK has
Finally,
returned.
Do you like your fire marble surroundings, Arte?
Well, let me get back to focusing on the game. Oh, okay. I've been marbled instead of coned.
Yes.
Susan.
yeah.
Susan got bored while waiting for you to get your microphone fixed and decide to fix you.
Uh-huh. Well, before we get going, I have a little bit of an announcement I need to make here. Back on, I believe it was July 9th, somebody had a birthday here, and I believe it was Miss Susan.
Yeah, that's just an ugly rumor. That I turned
Happy-
65 on July 9th. Yeah, it's just an ugly
Happy
rumor.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to
Aw.
you. Happy birthday, dear Susan. Happy birthday to you.
Aw, thank you, Arte. That's
Hey.
sweet.
You're
You
welcome.
could sing
Happy
it in
birthday,
Dunny.
Susan. Uh,
You could sing it in Dunny, Roche.
it doesn't flow off the
Sorry,
tongue quite as easily.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't know the Denis melody, so.
Oh, okay.
Volcanyar
everybody.
Kitsi. Volcanyar Kitsi. Volcanyar. And I don't know if that, what a word of endearment in Denis would be. Say,
Thank you, everybody. That's sweet.
Huh?
And Arte will be as old as I am in a couple months.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
but neither of you is going to quite catch up with my mother, who on July 18th turned 91.
Oh my goodness. Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh-oh. I hear noises in the background.
Somebody's running.
That's from my end.
Arte's
Well,
mowing his lawn, I think.
No,
I
someone's mowing my lawn on my side.
Okay.
The
Okay.
truck from my
Enough
And I-
end.
silliness. Let's go.
I live in an apartment now, so I have no lawns to mow.
Oh, okay. Do you have deep pile carpet? Okay. It's 5 after.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's
Let's
go ahead
go.
and link to
Rebek's gonna fall
Mirabot and get this thing going.
Yeah. PM the word link to Mirabot. Larry's mom with the weed whacker. It says your mom's out weed whacking, Larry.
I just thought of a whole
There
arena
were
with that.
there was a time when she would have been, but that hasn't been for a couple of years now. Murphac, the bot's not responding to me. Okay.
It's reporting now.
Okay. Thank you.
They're going. Yeah. Still that. Oh, wow.
There we go.
Okay.
Alright.
So, as you can all see, today we are continuing the Garden Age tour with The Last Garden, Ederkemo. Ederkemo was written early on during the Garden Age binge of Denis Century 8100. King Kurith had abdicated in 6977, which ended the line of Denis kings. A council made up of guildmasters was, or former guildmasters, was ruling Denis. The transition from the king to a council
Excuse
was
me, Larry.
yeah.
Your Twitch stream is still on your splash screen.
Oh,
On your still image.
yeah. Never. That's because I hadn't turned on the game view. There we go. Anyway.
And there I am.
Yep. Okay. The transition from a monarchy to the council was not universally popular and sparked an internal conflict that became known as the Myst War. At that point in history, it appears that the council and other Denis elites began... Excuse me a second. My freaking note... the computer I read my notes off of keeps wanting to restart to install updates. Anyway, it appears that the council and other Denis elites around that time commissioned Garden Ages to gain popularity with the common people of Denis. Ages like Chemo would have been a welcome break from the dullness of the Denis caverns. Copies of linking books to the gardens were placed in public linking libraries, such as the ones that you can find in the Bevan and Surrett-style neighborhoods. Chemo offered novelty with its constantly changing weather and themed planting areas. Those were features that were not possible in the caverns. However, After a period of time, Chemo was retired and other gardens were substituted, such as Ederzogel and Ederdellen. The age was modified by Yesha, and she marked it by placing her monogram. If you look where I'm standing at the LinkedIn platform, you will see that it contains a copy of her monogram. And there are several other places where you can find it as well. Eder Chemo is divided into 4 main sections, so let's go ahead and walk over to the first one as soon as I get control of my game back. If you look at the walls of the depression that we are in, you will see that just a foot or two below the top of the wall, there is a blue-gray band that goes all the way around. That blue-gray band near the top of the rock wall is a form of algae. The algae feeds on minerals in the rock and rainwater that seeps through it. Spaced along the cliff rim are animals that are dubbed cyanolent by explorers. They feed on the algae by hanging from a modified tail stinger like a grappling hook. Murphak, if you can build us a platform under one of those and take us up to it. The name cyanolent is said to have been coined in mid-2003 when an explorer named Thanatos mentioned that the creatures looked like the bug that was inserted into Neo's belly button in the Matrix movie. Another explorer named Catherine said that would make them Keanu Reeves belly button lint, or Keanu lint for short. As you can see, the name stuck. Right now we're waiting for Murphak to complete building a platform for us to stand on so that we can get a close-up look at one of them.
You can type PMW to Murphak, and you'll be up with us.
You can also walk right through the rock wall and get a look at it from the other side. That's one of the interesting things about this creature, the way it's designed, is that the bottom looks exactly like the top. It's got the same arrangement of eyes, for instance. So the only difference is the way the legs are bent.
Oh, you're right. The top has eyes too.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be inverted.
And then if you look upward, you can see the stinger on the tail that's hooked over the edge of the cliff. If you do it from inside the cliff, you can actually, the cliff is invisible, so you can see it very clearly. Now, I was, the last time I spoke with Rawa, I asked him if they had ever had an official working name for this particular critter. And he informed me that the artists that they had working on this age were given fairly free rein about how they did things. And so these creatures were not commissioned by Cyan. They were simply accepted by them, and Cyan never gave them a name. So unless the artist has a name that he never passed on to them, there is no official name for these things. So Cyanolent is about as much of a name as we've ever had for them.
We don't know what they're called in the game files.
They don't have a model. They don't have an actual model in the game files.
Oh, okay.
That's marked. Shiloh, that's about how it worked. Anyway, if you take a look out, Ederchemo was designed to have different large plants in 4 main sections so as to offer maximum diversity. The main features of the first district are called moss trees, so named because of the textures of their canopies. I'll hasten to add that most of the names assigned to the plants that we'll be talking about are ones that were coined and listed by the Denis Zoological Society or found in DRC documentation. I didn't make up any of these names. The other thing is that scattered throughout the age, you will find rocks that have a somewhat hidden character. The next time we experience a rain shower here, or it gets dark, you'll see that they take on a metallic glint. This garden is not the only age where those rocks can be found. They also appear in Ederzogel. Okay, Murfak, you can take us back down to the ground, please. Thank you. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that if you come over to one of the gazebos in this place, like this one right here, and look at the tiles that are on the floor of it, the tile design is similar to the Annonay symbol used by Guildmaster Kadish, who lived just before the fall of Denis. The design feature is this design is a common feature of gazebos in other ages as well. Kadish may have been inspired by it, but the truth is unknown. However, this age was built centuries before Kadish was born, so the chances are he did get them from these garden ages. It appears that Yisha chose to use this age for propaganda purposes and had her Baro followers paint a number of petroglyphs here. Propaganda may be a harsh way of phrasing it, but it does seem to be the case because the pictures were intended to make explorers believe what she said about Denis society. Yisha stated openly that she hated her Denis heritage, and she tried to make explorers think that Denis was entirely corrupt and cruel. One could think of it as if a person was telling the story of Al Capone and his gang and saying that this is what the United States was like throughout its entire history. She never tells anyone of the many good points their society had. Over the years, explorers have asked the question, who drew the petroglyphs found here and other places around Denis? A number of guesses were made. The leading answer was that the Baro drew them, but others thought Yisha might have, since similar pictures are found on a series of notebooks she left in the Great Shaft. The answer was finally given to us by Richard A. Watson at a Mysterium convention. He verified that it was indeed the Baro who drew the petroglyphs. There was once an explorer organization called the Baroglyph Study Group, which was a subdivision of a larger group called the Denis Linguistic Fellowship. The study group collected all of the Baro pictographs that they could find and tried to figure out what they meant. However, that group had flaws. They apparently went into their studies with a number of preconceptions in mind and ignored anything that contradicted those preconceptions. Some of them seem to have been that 1. Yisha always told the truth. 2. The Baro inscribed every pictograph found in the Denis Empire. 3. All elements of a pictograph must have a meaning. And 4. The meaning of even simple elements must be deep and or complex. Those preconceptions resulted in them often overanalyzing pictographs and sometimes drawing erroneous conclusions about them. It also resulted in them always interpreting the pictographs in ways that supported Yisha's ideology. As far as I can tell, they did not study the available documentation that might have given them a more reliable clue about the purposes of the glyphs. For example, they identify every slave or prisoner shown in glyphs as Baro, even though Nick White, a Denis interpreter assigned to assist Douglas Sharper, stated outright that the prisoners of Teledan and Rebek were not Baro. I'm going to open up a picture in the stream. Let's see. It's this one here. That's the wrong thing.
If you guys have any questions,
There we
you
go.
can go ahead and type them in chat, and we'll get around to them when Larry pauses.
Okay. First off, if you look at the stream window, I've got a picture up of the Baro identification symbol. As an example of how far off the charts the BSG could get, let's look at the morning eye symbol. The morning eye is an explorer name of a glyph the Baro frequently drew either near or on their images of themselves. The symbol shows an open eye with 3 lines dropping from beneath it, and is obviously meant as self-identification of their people. The 3 lines probably represent tear tracks, and overall the symbol could indicate sadness or despair. But one of the founders of both the Denis Language Fellowship and the Baroglyph Study Group, who was an explorer named Domara, wrote this about them. He said that the morning eye is a multi-layered symbol that reifies, whatever that means, a variety of ocular functions, both on the physical and metaphysical level. It symbolizes physical sight. If the Baro existed as a slave class, they would have observed the Denis in every walk of life, even while they were not seen or not meant to be seen themselves. It symbolizes moral sight. While the Denis either overlooked or thought little of the enslavement of Aratan peoples, the Baro were the first-hand witnesses of the darker side of Denis and the injustices of slavery. It symbolizes mourning over those very injustices. It is a powerful statement that the Baro chose this symbol to represent themselves. Even while the eye is weeping, it is wide open. Sadness and justice exist side by side. Though they were stripped of their freedoms and rights at every level, they cannot be robbed of their freedom to look, to see, to observe. Self-representation through the morning eye is both an act of resistance as the eye stares unflinchingly at its Denis oppressors, and an act of remembrance as the eye pays respect to the troubled and troubling history of the Baro. The fact that Domara wrote all of that about what is, in the end, a simple drawing of an eye with 3 lines below it shows how fanciful the group could be when they analyzed what they observed. There is absolutely no evidence or documentation to back up his conclusions. He simply let his imagination run wild, and the group took it seriously. Because of this, on the one hand, the group's methods and conclusions cannot be regarded as scientific or unbiased, and they should be viewed with skepticism. On the other hand, the group put in a great deal of effort into noting and discussing every possible detail of the glyphs and produced some very good observations. Their work should not be discounted because it forms a very good basis for further research. Just don't take their research at face value. Let's see. I want to turn off.
I posted in game chat the definition of reify.
Oh. I've never looked it up. What does it mean?
It's a verb taking an abstract noun and making it concrete. Or more concrete. Or real.
Okay. However you look at it, it's not something that you would hear in ordinary conversation. I'm going to go over the pictographs in the order that the BSG listed them, and read their notes first before giving you my own opinion about them. Okay, the first group of symbols was called the Fountain Sequence by the BSG. And it is this one over here. The BSG called this one Kadish Telesa, scene EK1, EK of course for Ederkema. The first scene on the right as you enter the first garden behind the fountain, a depiction of the age Kadish Telesa with tall trees, the sun and moon, the suspended vault, and other undetermined symbols. Speaking for myself, I also I can verify that this glyph does indeed represent Kadish Telessa. Several of the features of the age can be seen in it. The circle with the dot in it probably represents the sun of the age, and if you look at the glyph for the pyramid, you see that symbol repeated above it with a line between it and the pyramid, representing light traveling from the sun to the rotating lens set atop the pyramid. There are two other circles in the painting, one of which would represent the moon that is also visible in the sky of that age. Okay. Before I move on to the second symbol, by the way, did we have any questions?
Yeah, we do have some questions. About 5 minutes ago when you were discussing something, Dreamer had a question and I asked for clarification. What he or she is asking is, like, were the borrowed drawing their own point of view and weren't manipulated by Yisha? Because you had mentioned she was lying about things.
And
So
the answer, and actually, I'm just about to answer that question.
Oh,
as part,
terrific.
Because it's
Okay.
it bears on this next symbol.
Okay, and he also asked, are the BSG notes accessible online? Did you answer that just now, or?
I believe that the BSG website is still available on the internet. I
Great,
don't know
thank you very much.
It's only available though through Web Archive, as I recall.
Thank you.
At least
you
that's
both.
where I look it up, is through Web Archive.
Okay. And moving on to scene EK2, Rebek. The next scene to the left of scene 1, it is unclear what this age represents. One theory is that it depicts Rebek, where the Baro were hunted for sport. It appears someone attempted to erase the scene from the rock wall. That's what the BSG had to say about it. And I have confirmed that that glyph does indeed represent the age of Rebek, where the Denis illegally brought Autotanti slaves and hunted them for sport. It's important to remember that that was against Denis law. The Guild of Maintainers were on the trail of the slavers and would have caught them, except that the events of the fall of Denis brought everything to a halt. And I'm going to go back to the stream window to show you another picture. Here it is. Now take that back. This is not it. This is it. Here we go. This is an enhanced version of the picture that's on the wall, so that you can see things in it a little more clearly. In this enhanced version of the image, there are what look like tracks in the upper right that show hooved feet and three-fingered handprints being used to assist in walking or climbing. If correct,
Okay, Zeke, please mute your mic.
Sorry.
okay. If correct, then that would lead to Yisha wanting the image defaced because it contradicted her hints that the Baro were imprisoned in Teledon and hunted in Rebek. While the Baro drew themselves as having 3 fingers and toes, they did not draw themselves as having anything that even remotely resembled the hoof marks that you see in the picture. And that leads us back to the answer to the question that was asked earlier. This symbol and the one next to it were both defaced because the Barrow drew things as they were, rather than
I had a question. Could those hoof prints be like gravestones of some type?
I never thought about it that way because they're surrounded by the fingerprints. But since I have no official explanation of this glyph, that guess is certainly possible. However, the Denis did not make graves that looked like that.
Caver is asking where exactly the hoof marks are.
If he looks at the stream window at the picture that I've got up, it's on the it's right there on the right-hand edge of the picture.
But one of them is enclosed. They looks kind of like a doorway.
Mm-hmm. So
But it could be
that's
a
what I'm saying.
hoof mark,
That
too. Yeah.
I interpret, because they're basically shown in a line with fingerprints on either side of them. I did interpret them as being footprints of some sort, but I make no guarantee. I make no claims of being infallible.
Gotcha.
They also look like croquet hoops. Maybe that was the game they were playing in Rebek.
Yeah, the Rebek people played croquet. Okay.
Kitty Renee over in the stream chat said, "Wait, Susan is Larry's mama? How did I not know that?"
Oh dear.
That would be a little difficult, Kitty Renee, because I'm older than she is. Some of the other things that you can see in this picture, if you look carefully, is that there are people that are drawn in the way that the Barrow drew the Denis people, who are holding what look like barbed spears, bows, and bows. And the bodies themselves, there's a couple of bodies just above the cage which have what look like broken spears and arrows in them and blood spattered around them.
Uh-oh, now I'm going to have to Google palimpsest.
Let's see, is there anything else that needs to be mentioned in this? Oh, yes. You'll also see a figure in a cage in the enhanced version of the picture. And you'll notice that it and the bodies look alike. And when I show you how the Barrow drew themselves, which will be coming up in a few moments, you will see that this is not the way they drew themselves. The next glyph, whoops, too many mice. I'm trying to keep track of. The Barosglyph Study Group called this Denis/Agura, or Agra, with a question mark. It's seen EK3. It's the next scene to the left of scene 2. This may be a representation of Denis, the island of Agara, although it is difficult to tell for sure. This scene also appears to have been erased from the rock wall. And this is one scene that they actually got completely wrong. They thought it was a representation of Agara, as the double line arch over it appears similar to other Barrow art that does depict the cavern. However, it has since been confirmed that the drawing is actually another glyph of Rebek. And it looks like someone tried to erase it and the other Rebek pictograph because nowadays they are almost entirely indecipherable, unlike the artwork surrounding them. I suspect that Isha may have ordered the Barrow to do it, or perhaps even did it herself. However, since the days of the Baroglyph study group were active, I have indeed come across an undefaced version of that glyph, and so which I've now got up on the stream window. So you can see that it is entirely different from a depiction of Agara Island in the cavern.
Oh, wow. That's pretty.
By the way, I posted a definition of palimpsest both in game chat and here in the stream.
Okay, let's see.
So you're saying that's Agura Island?
No, that is the Age of Rebek.
Oh, okay.
That's basically an overhead map of it.
So there's two glyphs of Rebek.
Right. One's been wiped over.
Both of them have,
Well,
actually.
they both have been, but
Oh, wow. Well, he's showing the unaltered version,
Correct.
the pristine version.
Okay, let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. I see now that Murphac has done some magic to enhance the glyphs in the game so that we can see them more clearly. Anyway, so and you also see Denis Hunter's in scenes surrounding the main Rebek drawing. So we come to this one here. Anyway, there we go. That's a good view. This is scene EK4, which the BSG called Greason. The scene next to the left of scene 3, a depiction of the Maintainer Age Greason, with the well tower, the fortress, the training wall, an ink beetle, and a number of maintainer suits and Barrow slaves. And it is indeed Greason. You can see the ink beetles, the main fortress, maintainers, and the training wall. The figures that look a little like robots are maintainers in heavy environmental armor, which they used when first entering a new age in case the environment was unexpectedly hostile. Despite the claim made by the BSG that Barrow are present, None of the figures are drawn in the way that they depicted themselves, and the morning eye symbol is nowhere to be seen. Instead, some of the figures are carrying sticks or weapons. The Barrow never drew themselves carrying either. Because of that, I suspect that all of the figures were meant to represent maintainers. And the final drawing over here. Scene AK5 is the Baroglyph study group interpreted as Teledon. The next scene to the left of scene 4, a depiction of the age of Teledon with mushrooms, spores, interconnecting bridges, harvesting machinery, the slave caves, and Barrow slaves. And they were correct in that was indeed Teledon. In this scene, you can see the slaves who were sent to Rebek in the drawing. However, the design of the figures shown bound and the ones in the cage, if you take the figures shown bound and the ones in the cage and compare them to the way the Barrow painted themselves, you'll find that they are not Barrow. In her recorded speech in the Barrow cave, after the quest in Teledon is completed, Yisha implies that the Barrow were the ones imprisoned in there. But the Barrow did not draw themselves in that glyph. The prisoners in the glyph have trapezoidal bodies and long legs. The Barrows represent themselves as having short three-toed legs and long, rounded torsos. And that's what we're going to be looking at next. Because if we walk over here, let's see, behind the bamboo grove, oops, let's see. Oh, there they are. We have a glyph over here which actually does show the Barrow. This is how they drew themselves. And you can see it, how they did that from several angles. And the one thing you will notice is that the scene is surmounted by the morning eye, and 3 of the figures have the morning eye on their chests. And that appears in several glyphs and other places. So basically, if the morning eye symbol is not part of the drawing, the chances are that the Barrow are not drawing themselves in it. The Baroglyph Study Group called this scene EK6 the Barrow Gathering. Seen hidden in the bamboo forest behind the pavilion in the first garden, depicts the morning eye, 2 rows of Barrow, and a line of 8 dots. As I mentioned before, the Barrow often have the weeping eye on or around their depictions of themselves, which probably represents sadness or a sense of hopelessness. This glyph is a prime example of how they drew themselves and should be compared with the other glyphs in the age to determine whether or not Barrow are present in them. Most of the time they are not. And now I'm going to move over to the journey door, which is just down the path here. And we get into a lot of unexplored or unexplained territory here. On the right side of the journey door is scene EK7, which they called termed unidentified. I just called it the scene to the right of the journey door. My own explanation is that this glyph appears to be of Dini people with someone of importance in the center. It matches the overall look of the floating sculptures that are here and in Ederdelin. The arch above the central figure resembles similar arches found in other baroglyphs that represent being in a cave or cavern. There is a Maintainer's Guild symbol above the central figure's head. One of the many possible theories is that it might represent Rinaref and the Dni arriving in the cavern. However, that is just one of a large number of ideas, and there's no evidence to tell us which one of those ideas might be correct. However, the presence of the Maintainer's symbol, rather than that of the writers, is a point against it being Rinaref. So all we know is that that's a depiction of Dini people. Then over on the left-hand side of the door, this is what the BSG called scene EK8, and they called them Chemo Fish Riders. Scene to the left of the journey door depicts a figure riding skate-like animals, perhaps the fish for which Eder Chemo is named. And they were dead wrong on that particular interpretation. That pictograph actually represents the age of Kalo and shows figures riding a creature called a Kamkinta. Kamkinta were flying creatures that were used as part of a game to collect a kind of plasma sphere and toss it into a plant that they used as a goalpost. The Kalo Bar was named after the age of Kalo, and it is suspected that the many viewers there were used to show images of the game. It is known that the DRC had books for the age of Kalo, but that environmental and budgetary concerns prevented them from releasing any of those books. It has been said that Kalo was constantly swept by hurricane force winds that averaged around 100 miles per hour. And by the way, at some point during the tour season, we are going to be visiting Kalo. Not in the game, but in the stream. Let's see. Okay. Next we have the symbol over this tunnel, which is divided up, which they divided up into two sections, EK9 and 10. They called this the mythical creatures sequence, and said about it, EK9 is unidentified, and so is EK10, and they simply say a set of glyphs to the left of the and right of the tunnel into the second garden. It may be possible that these glyphs are representations of non-human autotanti and animals from ages we are unfamiliar with. The figure on the lower left has 3 digits on each foot and hand, and those digits are clawed. The feature on the upper right has 2 tight-toed feet, and one hand has 3 fingers while the other has 6. The figure on the far right seems to have humanoid figures inside it, and so might have been a manned machine of some sort. However, as a personal theory, we know that Yesha wandered around the desert southwest on Earth's surface before she moved into the cleft, and then went journeyed down to the Dini cavern. So these are more likely, I think, to be American Indian symbols that she ran across while she was exploring the desert southwest. They do indeed share a lot in common with Native American rock art from various places, especially a style that the Indians use called animal humans. Okay, as we move through the tunnel and into the next section, which for some reason seems to be blocked off. Murphak, do you have any idea why we're stuck here?
Do we still have the JLAC overlay?
Never mind. Thank you. Okay. This is section 2. The trees that are the major form of the major form of plant life here are known as brain trees, but they're also called troons. Troons because of the sounds that they make, and brain trees because of the way their canopies look. Ederkimos fireflies can be found in the largest grove of the troons. I mentioned earlier that Yesha had left her mark at other places in the age beside the Lincoln platform, and this central pillar right over here at the intersection has her mark on each of the 4 faces of it. And that was one of the things that Yesha did whenever she worked on something, or a lot of the time when she worked on something, she'd leave her personal monogram to mark the fact that she had edited the age.
By the way, her monogram is in your Relto huts too.
Correct. It's on the rug on the floor and marked on the walls. If we come over here to this central area, I've mentioned in earlier tours that Denis ages, in order to be approved, had to have approval from the Guild of Maintainers, and when they approved of an age, they sunk a spike in the ground and attached a marker on top of it. And this is where the marker is for this age, on the ground here under this overhang. Also hanging from the overhang are plants that the Denise Zoological Society dubbed moss willows or ledge vines. These particular type of plant can only be found here in Ederkimo. And then continuing over, first off, this is one of two ages where you can find these floating sculptures. This is basically a depiction of a guild member in formal dress robes. So and you can see that this thing resembles quite a bit the marking over to the right of the journey door that depicted Denis people. The rock that's here, that by the way, floats naturally. It comes from the age of Rebek. And this type of stone, that's where they mined this particular type of stone to make these to make any sort of floating monument you find.
You know what's interesting, Larry, is this structure has a horseshoe shape. I'm assuming that's just a coincidence.
It's actually meant to represent the fact that the Denis formal guild robe had built up shoulders.
You can see that too in the EK7 to the right of the journey door. The huge shoulders on the figures and the little bitty tiny head above.
Yeah. Behind this, we have scene EK11, which is meant to represent Yisha. The society said, scene located behind the rotating monument depicts Yisha among other unidentified glyphs. My own notes about that is that, yes, it is a borrowed depiction of Yisha as they see her. In fact, you see this a similar drawing in the cleft when you open up the journey door there after finding all of the journey cloths. This type of drawing appears in one of the wall paintings inside the cave. To her left is the cleft volcano, the cleft itself, and Kurith's arch. The lines and circles that you see attached to the cleft in the drawing are likely to be a representation of part of the Denis tunnel system that leads from the Great Shaft to Denis. The bird figure to her right is likely there to represent her nickname. Her father, Atris, called her Desert Bird. That's also why she wears, whenever you see her, you see a road runner embroidered on her clothing. The glyphs in the lower right have not been identified. So far, the best guess anyone has ever made is that she's been shopping at Target, and that's her the bag with her purchases.
Oh dear.
By the way, I mentioned that to Richard Watson, and he told me that was probably the best explanation he's ever heard of it.
But this glyph of her holding the key looks like the weeping eye a little bit, and how she might be locked into something.
I don't see anything like that myself, but it's in the eye of the beholder.
The eye of beholder. It looks like a little candle at
No
the
pun
top.
intended.
Yep.
Mhm.
Anyway, moving on to the next set of glyphs. Let's see.
Oh, someone asked about Tiana's blue flowers. You mean the ground surrounding this structure here? The blue flowers here? I don't think those are Tiana's flowers, are they?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Okay,
And Shiloh had asked a question too.
sure. Go ahead and ask it.
Since the Garden Age binge was fueled by high-ranking guild members trying to curry favor, I'd assume it was supposed to depict this age's patron. Was there any type of mark to indicate who it was? Who the patron was, you mean?
No, there never is. None of the people who created given ages generally would have taken personal credit for them.
Okay. And by Tiana's flowers, Dreamers was referring to the little sticks with circles on the drawing.
I don't know. Again, they don't look much like Tiana's flowers to me. But again, if that's how he wants to interpret them, there's nothing stopping him from doing so.
Yeah, Tiana's flowers do show up, as we know, in the cleft at some point. I won't spoil when. And they're also in Real Myst, I think,
Mm-hmm.
by her gravestone, Tiana's gravestone.
Yes. Okay, as we walk over here to this seating area, we find EK12, the four spheres is what the BSG called them. The first set of glyphs to the right as you enter the circular mesa in the second garden, and they didn't offer any further explanation. But actually, if you look at the stuff to the right of the large sphere, the first set of glyphs represents the Anone spheres on the rotating machine with Ferds and Quabs around it. The black figure shown could possibly represent Kadish, who was the person who wrote that age. And then they cut the large sphere and the things surrounded them. The BSG calls scene 13, and it asked, and they have a question mark after control room in their description. And they simply say quabs. They go on to mention quabs and fish as scene 14. However, that particular large glyph represents water Anone, and it is indeed surrounded by Ferds and quabs. By the way, we never actually get to see Ferds when we're exploring Anone, but they were supposed to be a fairly common feature. They're called Ferds because they are a combination. They're portrayed as being a combination of sort of like a fish bird, and they would use their fins to glide around through the air in the pit that Anone is set in. They also had suckers on the bottoms of their bodies near the mouths, which allowed them to cling to rocks. Quabs, of course, is probably short for quadrupedal crab, although Richard Watson said that the quabs got it's possible that the quabs got their name because they had Elmer Fudd trying to say crab.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, I think you said that this symbol on the floor that's also inside each gazebo
Mm-hmm.
does not represent Anone because it predates Anone, but it appears that, I mean, it's hard to see this particular version of the symbol on the ground, but it looks like it has 5
Mike,
spheres just like
I am
the one on the wall.
4, but I'm guessing that the symbol may have inspired
Kadish?
to do in his design and his use of the symbol, because this garden is much older than he was.
So he co-opted it basically.
Probably.
It just seems like an awful large coincidence, but I trust you if you say it predates it. So I was shocked when you said that.
Now this age would have been written in the 8100s, and he didn't live until the 90 something, or the
Very interesting.
8900s or something like that. So he was about 800 years younger than this garden is. 8 or 9. Okay. This is section 3 of the garden that I'm in right now. And the giant fungi here are called puffers for obvious reasons. They're spraying spores with each puff. And the last of the hieroglyphs in the age is down here at the end, just above the tunnel. And of course, they call the BSG called this the Puffer Garden sequence. However, they don't. And they divided it into EK 15 and 16 for the left and right sides of the book. However, they don't have anything concrete to say about them. However, my own observations is that you can see people riding horses and hunting in this particular sequence. It is highly unlikely that the images are meant to represent this age. The pictographs are identical to glyphs found at an American Indian rock painting called Newspaper Rock. That's located in Indian Creek State Park near Moab, Utah. As a matter of fact, many of the symbols are grouped the same on the original work as they are here. Hang on just a second. Let me open up my... If you look at the stream window, I have a picture of Newspaper Rock up there so you can see exactly how similar it is. When Yisha left Tomana on her journey of self-discovery, it's known that she wandered for a time before settling down in the cleft, and then later followed the great chef down into the caverns. It's entirely possible that Yisha visited Newspaper Rock during her travels and sketched parts of the pictographs that interested her. If so, it would have been her sketches that are reproduced here, since the overall arrangement of these glyphs do not exactly match the arrangement of the ones in the original art. The DRC notebook that was left here by Yisha It tells a story about the third king of Denis, Shomat, and how he committed genocide against an Autochton race and murdered his own brothers. What Yisha does not tell you is that Shomat later reformed, and he was the origin of the custom for Denis kings to have spiritual advisors whose purpose was to keep them on the path of morality. It's possible that she intended for explorers to believe that this garden is the one mentioned in the notebook, but if so, it's untrue. The events of that story took place in Denis year 387, which would have been 7270 BC. Eder Kimo was written approximately 7,000 years later in Denis century 8100, or the 5th century AD. The King Shomat notebook has this to say about him. Shomat took the throne in the year 300 DE, or Denis era, at the age of 44. Up to the point of his coronation, he had been a member of the Guild of Writers. He continued his study of the art through private mentors for a number of years after his coronation. It was the lack of proper guild instruction that most Denis historians attribute the distorted views Shomat later took on. His was an up and down reign, partly due to a tremendous tension that seemed to exist between himself and his older brothers. Both of his brothers, though they had little respect from anyone, did everything in their power to make Shomat's reign tumultuous. One of the first actions Shomat ordered was the construction of a palace. When completed in 347, Shomat moved in with his family, although his brothers refused and maintained their own homes. Such an act was regarded as tremendous disrespect to a family and only served to widen the gap between Shomat and his brothers. Furthering tensions not only within Shomat's family but within the culture as well was the lavishness of the palace. Ornate gardens were present inside the physical grounds, and garden ages were written as well, linking from within the palace. Rumors abounded that some of these garden ages were even wiped of their inhabitants in order to provide Shomat with relaxation. Whether true or not, Shomat often spoke publicly about the need for ages to serve Denis. This was a first for the society and a direct contradiction to what the guilds taught, that the Denis were to serve the ages. It seems that eventually the tension became too much. Some say it drove Shomat mad. In 387, both of his brothers disappeared and were never found again. It is commonly presumed that Shomat wrote a death book to which both of his brothers were linked, although that can never be proven. Regardless, it was one of the first major challenges for the people of Denis, and they reacted quickly. A prophetess was supplied to Shomat in 400 in an attempt to guide him in the ways of Yahweh. For the 155 remaining years of his reigns, it seems that most people believed Shomat became a better king. The prophetess became an excellent mentor for Shomat and eventually convinced him to choose the son of one of his close friends as the heir to the throne. His own children were admittedly out of control. As it turns out, it was the bloodline of that child that led to the birth of the great king years later. Shomat died of natural causes at the age of 299. Okay, so let's go ahead and kill that. And get this out of my way. Okay. That's very unlikely because there would have been absolutely no reason for them to have a statue of him here. Okay. So now we're going to move on. Please take us back down to the ground. Okay. Or am
Dreamer's asking if the floating statue could be of Shomat.
I already answered that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Angel Murphac added the JLAC overlay so that he can build structures for us to stand on.
Yeah. Please take us back down to the ground. Thank you. And now's the time, if you can, to build that the platform under the water and take us down. Okay. Section 4 is the last environmental zone. It contains water lilies, cattails, lichen, and a plant I can't identify. We should be taking a close-up look at the fish that are found here. The rainbow-colored fish that are in this pond are called chemo, and this age is named after them.
And Eder means rest area, is that correct?
Eder literally means rest.
So the name is Rest. Instead of a garden age, it's a rest age.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you. Let's see what we got here.
These fish are so pretty.
Yeah, where the heck are they? There they are. Up there. We're below them. So let's walk closer. And get a... See if I can get a good look at them.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Coochie, coochie, coo.
Keep Parker away from the fish.
This zone contains a small room, or a small cave, which is the exit room. It would have had a linking book back to the library where the visitor found the chemo book, or it would have linked to the Nexus Age, although that's less likely. Yisha wrote a linking book to Lower Gura and placed it here as part of her quest for explorers. The linking book room is directly below the link-in point where we first came in. It's located inside the small cave so that it's well protected from the frequent rain showers here. There are 3 of the chemo in this pond. Okay. Murphac, thank you very much. Can you take us back up to the ground level? Thank you. Now, where are we? Okay, here we are. So I'm going to walk back out through the tunnel. Oh, if I can get myself turned around right. What I'm doing right now is I'm walking back out to the main garden area. Or I should say garden area number 2.
If you get separated from Larry, just PM find Larry to Mirabot, and you'll be instantly ported to Larry.
Okay, I'm going to... the last thing I'm going to talk about here is some of the tentative identifications of some of the plant life that we find here. There are a number of plants in this age that have either been given names by the DZS or which have been identified. A name that was given by the DZS is rainbow ferns, which would be the very colorful plants that you might see here and there around. Let's see. I know there's got to be some around here somewhere.
If I could just interject real quickly while you're looking that up. If you have your avatar walk through the fireflies, they'll stick to you. And then if you link to your Relto, you'll bring fireflies to your Relto. FYI.
Okay. So if we
At
come
least
over
until the next range.
If we come over here near the floating statue, you can see colorful plants, which I believe might be the rainbow ferns, or the plants that were called rainbow ferns by the DZS. You will also see scattered here and there a green plant. Here we go, right over here, which I'm standing in the middle of right now. And these were identified as common purslane by an explorer named Inia. These plants were native to California. You can also find other plants like jade plants, the moss willows I pointed out earlier. By the way, the DZS or the game files listed as just as some kind of ivy. It doesn't say which specific type. The thing is that calling it ivy is a bit of a stretch because it has none of the characteristics of known ivy varieties and has yet to be matched to any plants on Earth. And when you look around, there are two kinds of ground cover: grass and moss. And that is it for what I have on this particular age. Do we have any questions before you move on?
I don't see any. Does anyone have any? Come on, let's play Stump Larry. Shiloh, you're usually good at this. Ask him a question you don't think he'll be able to answer. Or Arte. Arte, you can stump Arte too.
Dreamer is asking if Shomot commissioned the age, and that's absolutely not. This age was written 7,000 years after his lifespan. This would have been, chances are this would have been commissioned by the Denis ruling council that was around in the year, the century 8100.
if Chomat did commission this age, it was probably given to the Guild of Procrastinators.
And so maybe that mark on the floor is a round to it.
Exactly. And to all those who thought I wouldn't amount to much because of my procrastination, just you wait.
I ran across that joke earlier this week. Anyway, okay. We're not going to go any place for the next age. It's all going to be in the stream because this age was never released. We're going to be talking about the age of Rebek for the last half hour. And let's see. I need to bring this up. Okay, where the heck am I? Oh yeah, gotta go one more. Okay. And I'll bring up this glyph again to get it started. Rebek was an age that had a non-human native population. Normally, the Dini tried not to write them as ages that have populations, but occasionally they got them by accident. The age might have been privately commissioned, or it may have originally been written as a mining age for the Guild of Miners. One reference claims that the age of Rebek was written around the Dini year 8012. The first maintainer exploration team sent to investigate the age discovered native creatures living there that they thought were animals. However, because of their strength and apparent intelligence, the Dini began exporting and using the natives as pack animals, and they spread throughout the empire. The Dini Empire needed pack animals to carry cargo because in order to transport anything from one age to another, it had to be carried by a living being that could come into contact with the linking panel of a book. The Dini working in Rebek soon noticed that the native creatures were showing clear signs of sentience, but they hid that evidence for the sake of maintaining their lucrative pack animal trade. Over the next 500 years, the population of Rebek natives dropped because the Dini captured and exported so many of them. As time passed, the creatures began showing signs of aggression. In 8503, a pack of them killed 6 Dini. A similar incident a month later resulted in the Dini ruling council banning them from being used around the empire. The council also banned access to the Rebek linking books. Despite the ban, it appears that rogue Dini continued to travel to Rebek in order to hunt the natives. By year 8590, a hunting lodge and safari industry had sprung up in the age, servicing a small but wealthy club of Dini who were interested in hunting dangerous animals. Because of their intelligence, the creatures continued to develop deadlier and more dangerous tactics in response to the hunts, which only served to make the age more attractive to thrill seekers. By year 9000, the creatures were thought to be extinct. Demand for the dangerous hunting game persisted among those who knew of it. in year 9005, the Rebek book went missing. While originally thought to have been destroyed, it had in fact been stolen and hidden by a man named Lord Balashek. Shortly after the book disappeared, the wealthy hunting club paid a man named Menesmo to round up intelligent slaves for importation to Rebek. There, the slaves were trained as replacements for the native creatures. The imported slaves were promised freedom if they killed any of the Dene hunters during a safari, but it's unknown whether or not those promises were ever kept. The slaves were also given doses of a drug made from materials that were native to Rebek. The drug was similar to adrenaline and was intended to make the hunts more challenging for the Dene Club members. In 9375, Menesmo began using the Age of Teledan as a storage facility for slaves he intended to sell to the hunting club of Rebek. It seems that the club was still operating and purchasing slaves from Menesmo all the way up to the fall of Dene in the year 9400. The existence of the slave trading ring was suspected by the Dene government, who set the Guild of Maintainers to investigate Menesmo in the same year that the fall of Dene occurred. Although the Dene and Rebek thought the native creatures had gone extinct, it seems that they survived in another part of the world outside of the active age. Eventually, their population rebounded, and by the time of the DRC, it was thought that there might be a large number of them around the age. According to Douglas Sharper's journal, he found Dene texts about Rebek among the things Menesmo had left behind in Teledan. Sharper's DRC assistant, Nick White, translated the text for Sharper, but didn't pass on the information to the DRC because Sharper didn't want him to. Sharper thought that they'd bury the story since it involved slavery, but in May of 2000 AD, Sharper asked Dr. Watson if he had ever heard of an age called Rebek, and Watson told him that not only had the DRC heard of it, they'd visited the age. When the DRC published their restoration projects in early 2004, Rebek was already listed as in Phase 2, but suspended. A note on the page echoed Dr. Watson's remarks stating, Rebek, July of 2002, environmental abnormalities, too dangerous, Watson. After the DRC returned in 2006, they voted 3-1 to reactivate the project, but remained shelved due to their usual reason, a lack of money and manpower. According to one of Sharper's journal entries, he thought the suspension had little to do with Dr. Watson's official comments. Instead, he believed that Watson had found out about the hunting club and that the idea that Dene citizens had owned and hunted slaves was so repulsive that Watson suspended restoration of the age. Sharper wrote in his journal, quote-unquote, games with slaves from here were played there, hunting game of sorts. I'm not for hunting people, but the game does sound fun. It was Nick White who mentioned that the slaves of Rebek were not Baro. That is supported by the Baro pictographs in the Eterkimo, which show, of course, Rebek and Teledan respectively. In both, the slaves shown in the cages do not resemble the figures of drawings that they used to represent themselves. Yisha spoke of the slaves held on Teledan in her Path of the Hand speeches, but hinted heavily that it was the Baro who were kept in the cage there. She did not say it outright, however, and did not offer any proof to support it.
Larry, on Twitch, you still have your screen showing of the
Yeah,
unaltered
that's
Rebek. Is
that's
that what you wanted?
yeah, because
Okay.
I haven't moved on to the next picture yet.
Oh, great. Okay. I was afraid that the YouTubers had missed a lot of like shots of the ground cover and whatnot.
Anyway, I mentioned I've already talked about the fact that the Rebek drawings in Eder Chemo were scratched out, apparently because they contradicted Yesha. However, there is, let's see here, where do I have? Here we go. This is a DRC sketch that I just put up of what may be the non-human slaves that were purchased by the hunters. They have the three-fingered hands hinted at by the marks on the right of the baroglyph in Eder Chemo, and their feet resemble that of an elephant, and that could match up with what I think are tracks that are drawn in the pictograph. Judging from the pictograph tracks, they may have used their knuckles to aid in walking, somewhat like a gorilla. It is unknown what the age of Rebek may have been called by its natives or the early Denis visitors to it. I venture to guess that the current name Rebek may have been coined by the hunting club. That's because it literally translates as the game. Okay, let's see. Pictures. Let's see if this is... Overview is what I'm calling that picture. What the heck? Anyway, this is a rough map of the area that the DRC linked into, and marked on it are names that they gave to various features of the age. However, they're not particularly easy to read on this particular drawing. Let's see. This particular sketch is of an area that the DRC called the Fishbowl. There appears to be a swimming figure drawn on it, which means that that particular area may be partially underwater. Note the floating rocks in this picture. I did ask Dr. Watson about the source of the floating sculptures in Eder Chemo and Eder Delen, and he confirmed that the stone used to make the monuments was imported from Rebek. And let's see. Oops, wrong mouse again. The next picture that I put up is a color sketch of an area that the DRC calls the Glades. have another picture around here somewhere. Here it is. No, that isn't it. Okay, here we go. This picture is likely to be a sketch of another section of the glades. In the age, there are two sculptures which the DRC called idols. Let's go ahead and get the first one up. Note the overall humanoid appearance, although this figure in this picture has 6 fingers and toes on each of its limbs. This figure also appears to have 4 arms, judging from the number of fingers that are visible. And then here's the other figure that they made a sketch of. And that's what leads me to a bit of confusion, because if why would the natives make something like this if the DRC thought that they were, I mean not the DRC, I mean the Dene thought they were animals when they first arrived? A dreamer is saying one of the pics looks like they had 9 fingers on each hand, and that would have been the one just before this one. And I interpreted the number of fingers as being from 2 hands on each side. Okay, what's this picture called? It is called Quarry, so I wonder, why am I not seeing it? Q, there we are. This is an area that the DRC calls the Quarry, and it may be the actual area that the Dene were collecting rock from to make their floating sculptures. Let's see. Okay, the next picture is this one here. This sketch is marked Temple, although the artist wrote Rebek.middleridge.ruins on the face, along with his name. The sculptures in this sketch bear a resemblance to the slaves that were captured by Mynesmo. It's interesting to note that although the remains of the sculptures float, they were attached to the ground at their bases when made. The one on the right, of course, still is. When the DRC was exploring the age, they made clay models of it. So here's one of the models. And here's another. And this is that same one from a slightly different angle. They also made a more detailed map, if I can find where I put it. Okay, what's this thing called? Rebek map.jpg. Okay, here's a slightly more detailed map of the what the age was supposed to is supposed to be. As a side note, when the DRC was working on this age to restore it, there are mentions that they were intending for the age to be a place where explorers could play a version of tag, simulating one or more of the Denis hunting games, without the blood sport aspects. And it is now 1:51.
Well,
and
what's the fun in that?
yeah. In any case, do we know what keeps the floating statue in place in Etterkemo? And that's a good. The floating rocks are found. Carved versions of the floating rocks are found in Chemo, Dellen, and the Great Zero. There's some spheres floating in niches in the walls there. And as far as what keeps them from flying away, presumably, couldn't say for certain, but they did mention something about strange electromagnetic features to the age. So maybe they're able to keep them in place by use of magnets below them. And did we have any other questions? Shiloh O'Brien, in another conversation that I had with Richard Watson, I mentioned the fact that on the island of Agara, the Denis have an awful lot of high ledges and walkways with no safety rails whatsoever, which made me wonder if they had some bird DNA in their ancestry. And his quote about his joke about the fact that there's few safety features on high areas is why the DRC never once invited OSHA to come visit the cavern. And that is it for today's tour. Thank you all for coming. Saying we finished that up just in time.
Yep, with 5 minutes to spare.
Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to show now is okay.
I'm gonna go back to my real phone and change out of these wet clothes.
Yeah. Okay, I've just put up today's event schedule on the stream. Oh, I know a question we missed earlier is from Dreamer, who asks, "Is the seed in the seed room made of the same material?" And the answer is yes. That is also a floating rock from Rebek.
Good question. So let's give a big round of applause, please, for Larry, Arte, Zeke, and Murphak. Murphak, we couldn't do this without you with all your special effects. And so we appreciate you. And we know that you're much in demand here in Moolah. Our next tour is the fourth Saturday of every month, as you probably know. The next tour then would be Saturday, August 24th. Please mark your calendars. As far as our schedule for today, we've got, they changed karaoke. It used to be at 1600, so it's always, now they do it at the same time as our tours. So, Story Night Europe. Story Night. That must be a new event, right, Arte? Wink, wink.
Right. Wink, wink, does say no more, say no more. Yeah. Yeah. Last week I had a slight in-house emergency, so I had to cancel story night. So tonight is a twofer. It's going to be talking about the third king of Denis and a return to the old ways of Garternay. And we're going to talk about the fourth king of Denis and the preparations for a prophecy. And the story starts at 1400 key time. We'll start gathering there about 1330 key time at the in Sano's Hood around the fountain. And like it says on the graphic, it's done with voice chat, so you got to make sure your speakers or headset is on.
Yeah, you use it through the Moolah voice chat, not the.
Correct.
You don't use Discord or Skype or Twitch or anything like that. This is in-game voice chat, as faulty as it is, but it still works.
Correct.
Just, I always found it rather hard on my fingers, though.
Yeah. And then
it's
there's
also hard on the tab key too, but.
And then let's see, there's Aoheek Night at 2100 in the competitive Myst Online League Hood. That's that game. It's sort of like rock, paper, scissors.
Correct.
And then Arte, in the next 2 minutes, can you squeeze in do you still offer your Dunny language lessons?
As a matter of fact, I do. It's classes are held Monday through Friday. Currently, it's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the daytime is available, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in the evenings is available. No weekend classes, unfortunately. And classes start from 12 can start between 10 a.m. key time until noon key time, or from 2000 or 8 p.m. key time until 10 p.m. key time.
And would you? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the class times any time within those time ranges, depending on the student's schedule.
And would you please indulge us by typing in chat the tune's name, the avatar's name who offers the classes, because it's not Arte, and your key number? If you don't remember your own key number, let me look it up here. I think I've buddied him. He would be offline.
But by the way, do you all remember my explanation of where the name Ioheek came from?
Vaguely, it's a combination of words.
Mm-hmm. The way that story goes, Richard A. Watson absolutely loves the movie The Princess Bride. And there's a character in there called Vezek, who was the kind of one of the bad guys, and he challenges the hero Wesley to or I should say, they have a duel, which consists of guessing which of a pair of goblets of wine has poison in it. Wesley won because he poisoned both goblets of wine with a poison that he was immune to called iocane. And now, in Denis, the word heek means cane, as in a walking stick. It's also what they called the weapon that Gin used in Riven, because it was effectively a gun made from a walking stick. And so what when it came time to pick a name for that game, Richard was still very much under the influence of Princess Bride, and decided
Under the influence.
yeah, and so he wanted
Is it a libation now?
he wanted to give a tribute to it, and so he decided if he took the word iocane, changed the first part of that to just be something that sounded like Io, and then used the Denis word for cane as the second part, that would be a very his way of paying tribute to the movie. So it's just a different way of saying iocane.
Very interesting. Alrighty, it's 2 minutes after. We'll see you next month, August 24th. I hope you'll be there. And once again, that's just going to be a stream-only presentation.
Actually, I don't know yet. I'm not familiar. I haven't looked up what's the next month's subject yet.
Okay, so go ahead and make sure you log in and come into Cavern's Hood.
Mhm.
Cavern Tour's Hood. Alright, goodbye everybody. See you next month.
Okay, bye bye
Thank you.
everyone, and I'm ending the